Korean talk, where all we talk about are the Korean players and China.
Yep.
Yep, this is pretty much our life, and so today we're going to be talking about more Korean players, as we will probably next week. But let's start it off with the, actually I have to introduce everyone, don't I? So this is
Maybe.
what happens when I don't have notes. I'm Froskurrin, I'm your host. I don't cast the Korean League, I cast the LPL. That's what we should be talking about, but again, all we talk about is Korean players. We got Raz on the desk, he's going to be our LSPL expert, Drexxin, editor-in-chief of Esports Evan, and then Kelsey Moser on Gamers, lol Esports. Who are you? What do you do?
Something.
Yeah, something. LSPL qualifiers. Let's actually talk about that, because we actually glossed over that a lot last week. We talked about pretty much the LPL qualifiers and the 4 new teams joining the LPL.
Yeah.
And I feel like I always ask this question, like, why should we care about the LSPL? So I'm just going to, like, spark notes this. Why we care about the LSPL in China is because in North America, we have this problem where we're not able to groom and breed talent. At least that's the supposed issue. People are like, oh, you know, North America has to import talent because we don't have whatever. I'm not going to get into that debate. But the issue is that the structure underneath LCS, North America doesn't really have anything there. They don't really have anything in Europe. It's kind of the LCS and then it's the NACS, and the challenger scene is nowhere near to the competitive structure that the LCS is. In China, we have the LPL, which is the League of Legends Professional League, and then we have the LSPL, the League of Legends Semi-Professional League. Yes, I did that right. It's
Secondary. There we go.
Secondary. There we go.
There we go.
And it's
Same thing.
effectively an entire league underneath that. It has its own season. It has its own matches. Everything is broadcast. 16 teams. It's got a better website. And this is how the Chinese teams, you know, when they're not importing S-class talent from Korea, create their talent to move upwards. So we had 4 new teams join it. So Legend of Dragon, me, EDGF, and Vici Gaming 2. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, Raz. Who are these teams and why do I care at all?
Okay. These teams are actually they all have their different stories, and though, like, honestly, I can't, like, my mind's kind of fuzzy when it comes to Vici Gaming too. Like, holy moly, all these teams have so much potential going into the LSPL because we have Team
That's
M.
the word potential.
I don't want to use, okay, I have to, like, reclaim the word potential. There we go. No, that's like, and I love you for saying that. That's actually like, I'm just gonna remember that one. But yeah, exactly. Like, because each team, or at least I'm just gonna mention 3 teams because I don't remember Vici Gaming too. Like Team ME, like they caught my eyes because they were actually really good, and I just loved the fact that, like, mostly because of the strategies and what they can use with them, because they really centered around Jace, Ezreal. Like their mid laner would always go Ezreal mid
3 tier
sometimes.
comps.
Yeah, the 3 tier comp. That was like I actually really loved it, and they worked it really well, and they were able to use Ezreal mid so effectively, and so I thought that team was just very special. And like, I wanted to say that they're better than currently World Elite, but I feel like we don't know what's happening with World Elite, so it's like whatever. But
And
and
obviously you're making this comparison because for those of you then that don't know, me is the 3rd tier team, I guess, for World Elite. They have World Elite, World Elite Academy, and then they just flip that W upside down and now they have me.
me, which is like so hard to cast, by the way. It's like so hard to cast saying me is going in. It's like, all right, that I just sound like horrible, but
It should be noted that I don't know much about the Legend of Dragon, but EDGF, me, and Vici Gaming, like obviously these are all sub teams or sister teams of already standing organizations. Do you think that this has a lot to do with their success that they've seen in LSPL? Because a lot of these teams didn't just like qualify; some of them like absolutely dominated.
yeah, it felt like they were a lot more structured and very like just there's just the fact that they were structured because and they probably had a better like back team kind of like coaching because I felt like the teams that we saw that weren't really backed by a major organization felt a little iffy. Like it
So you ready for
was
this?
what? I'm ready.
Because you're talking about this.
Okay.
Okay, so in LSPL we have the World Elite team, the EDG team, and the Vici Gaming team all qualify for LSPL.
Yeah.
How come in the North American expansion tournament we have both complexity teams drop?
All right. Um Okay. Could you rephrase, or at least just like,
I'm just like, because you're talking about like the fact that they have structure, and that's
yeah.
probably what makes them so good. Like, this is why they're dominating because they already have like freestanding
Mhm.
organizations behind them. So we shouldn't be surprised that EDG, the organization, would come out with like another superstar team when they've dominated the LPL for so long.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is just caliber of organizations setting up these teams, or maybe the funds that they have access to, the rosters that they have access to? So I'm asking you to
Mm.
draw a comparison between the North American expansion and the LSPL.
It's hard to say, but I think when it came to complexities and when they both dropped out, I felt like complexity didn't do much for those organizations. It's hard to like even judge on that, and I honestly can't speak on that. But it felt like when I watched both White and Black, it felt like it was just they just found a way to scrap the teams together after breaking them up, and they had like no synergy. It just felt like, but like when you were to look at Team ME, and it's actually a really fair question. It's just very hard to ascertain the
It's
strengths of
hard
this team.
because unless
Yeah.
you have like both knowledge of like the LSPL and the NA expansion tournaments, like it's hard to draw those comparisons. So I was just curious if you had any stands on it. I wasn't like, you have to answer this question, otherwise you're kicked off the show. Um, I mean, do you guys, Drex and Kelsey? It was a hard question, to be fair. I was just very curious if you had any stance.
LSPL versus qualifier versus the NA expansion. Is that what you're asking?
It's the idea that, okay, so we have World Elite Academy's team, so me, EDGF, and Vici Gaming. All three of these teams qualify for the LSPL. They all look amazing. Like, we haven't obviously seen them dominate yet, but everyone's projecting them to like show up and be amazing in a league that is actually fairly competitive. LSPL has a very high level of competition associated with it, especially for what a lot of the Western fans would consider, the amateur league, even though they don't consider it that. So I was curious why we see such difference. Like, if you look at the organization as far as the NA expansion tournament, like Complexity not faring too well in the expansion tournament, but these other organizations in China, is it just the difference of caliber, like the fact that Complexity always sat on the bottom of LCS, as opposed to it's not like TSM2 comes into the NA expansion tournament, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't
Mhm.
have that direct comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, okay, so I said this while I was muted, so not really again. But for viewers, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a different ball game because as I was trying to clarify earlier, it's not necessarily league secondary or like semi pro league. It's actually secondary pro league. So like this is literally just like another tier of professional play for these guys. It's not just like a semi professional league. It's not really the challenger equivalent in any sense. Which is why I led into my next point when I was talking to Raz, well, also muted, that potential is like a word you can kind of use depending on the context of the situation, but not on already pre-established brands like TSM or CLG or any teams that's really already applied to Worlds. These are like new teams that really haven't seen the spotlight. So when you say potential, you mean potential as in like they can reach a professional league like to the highest standard, which would be LPL and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about EDGF, ME, like Vici Gaming 2 and Legend Dragons doing that specifically here. I mean, we'll have to see how they do in LSPL, but I do think that the caliber of LSPL relative to other secondary leagues is, a step higher. So it's a little bit different in that kind of situation because it's not like, I mean, this is gonna like kind of rustle the jimmies of like the whole NA doesn't have talent thing, but it's not in the sense that NA doesn't have talent. It's just that our population is so ridiculously small compared to China that we'd have to like quadruple our population to have a theoretical second competitive league in the same sense that LSPL has. So
And
yeah,
also the organizations have a lot of money in the sense that like EDGF, how did they get so much talent? Well, they just looked into Korea. Like they just literally got three. Was it three? I'm pretty sure it was three
Yeah,
They
they
top
didn't.
have
Koreans.
three
Yeah.
Koreans.
And they showed like how extremely powerful they were in just skill alone. And so you saw in Legend Dragon, who did they have? They had Pasa and a Voidless, who
Yeah.
were just the stars of that team. They were like Pasa performed amazingly and honestly just carried him and Voidless like carried that team through to the finals. Not even the
They were
finals, like
from they were from an LNL team that couldn't make GPL, so
mhm.
and that's just because again, like the GPL spots are limited for Taiwanese, so it's
Yeah.
just an issue there. But like Pasa and Avoidless are from LNL teams.
So yeah, like even like recently he was like talking Pasa up too. Like at the moment I was watching him, it was like, yeah, this team's just gonna make it through. Like it was actually really surprising how well they played. And then I forget who was the pure Chinese team. I think it was the Vici Gaming one. and they performed they performed well. I don't think I had that much of a like I don't have much to say about it. Even though I watched the games, I don't. There was nothing really surprising or special
Did,
that really came out to me.
did did Team Me have Koreans? I don't think they
I
did.
don't think they did either. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they didn't. Trying to remember that.
So, after casting the games or watching the games, how do you think that these teams will fare in LSPL? Because we've seen LSPL giants come out, Snake and King now joining the LPL, of course, along with World League Academy, GTF, Energy Pacemaker, and Vici Gaming. So, kind of EDGF. Everyone keeps talking up this team. I believe it stands for Edward Gaming Future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly, this is going to be the sister team. Correct me if I'm wrong. That there may be playing between like Deft, Clear Love, Name. Something is happening between the rosters on these two teams. So, do you think that it's possible that we're going to see Deft running around in LSPL on EDG Future?
I know, man. I don't know. It does make sense. I'm not sure what's gonna happen right now because I do hear that like rumors are just like that the LPL is gonna be doing a one team thing, one team per organization.
You mean the same rumors that were last year?
Yeah, that's true.
It might be a little more founded this time around because it was enforced in Korea. So, I mean, that's a thing. But I don't know. I mean, well, they've already confirmed that. I mean, I don't know if it's 100% true, but they already confirmed that Name is not leaving the main roster, right? So then, you know, Def would have to go to EDGF unless they change their mind. I don't know.
I think there's a mentality that when Deft was picked up, it was a replacement for Name, and I believe that the implication is that EDG is wanting to create almost like a Samsung white and blue structure and having two really powerful teams. But I feel like this throws some people off because one team's LPL and one team's LSPL.
Yeah, it seems to be the case just because of the really vague things that Sanshao, the manager, is saying. Things like, oh, Deft won't necessarily replace Name. And the fact that they're moving Clear Love from their starting lineup to EDG Future and they're putting Fire Lolly on their starting lineup. For those who don't know who Fire Lolly is, he's kind of like a Zatai situation in terms of being like really kind of a very rich kid who is very talented at the game, but he's not like super motivated. More or less, Edward Gaming, they convinced him to join the team because he's talented, but I'm still kind of, the verdict is out on what he's actually going to do. They put him in during their troll matches against World Elite in the spring split, and he played Annie top, and a bunch of World Elite fans thought they were mocking World Elite because Xiaomei had played Annie top, but he's not a top laner. He's primarily a jungle and AD carry main in solo queue. So that's the issue with Fire Lolly, is that they finally convinced him to, I guess, join one of their starting lineups instead of just streaming and have it goofing off all the time, more or less. So I have no idea how he's going to do, but moving Clearlove from the first team to the second team is a very, very strong statement, I think, regardless. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the second team had, like, Pawn and Deft on it. The other thing that they're saying, though, is that they think Baimei will be as strong as Pawn by the end of the year. So they have right now 3 very, very all-star mid laners, and they haven't officially announced Pawn yet, but everyone knows that pretty much Pawn has been picked up. They have Pawn, Yu, and Baimei. So the speculation is that they're going to create 3 teams, and they have enough Koreans to put 2 Koreans on each team. So they're saying they're going to put Ray on the starting lineup of EDG with Fire Lolly and Name, FCZFU. And then they're going to have a team for Pawn and a team for Baimei. So we'll see where that goes.
What are they going to do if this rule gets implemented that it's one team? Because right now, and it kind of came out that some people don't really realize that LPL has had sister teams, and they've had the rule where, there's no sister teams supposed to be allowed in the region. It just hasn't been enforced. You've had World League Academy, you've had Young Glory, both sister teams. I mean, what happens? You invest all this money into these Korean players to make all these other rosters, and suddenly, Riot or Lace or whoever. And
it is a really sensitive situation. if you talk to Lace or ask them about it, they'll say, yeah, if Riot decides that this is an important rule and they want us to follow it, then we'll enforce it. But I think so far their attitude is that, they haven't decided it's very important. No one has said anything about both World Elite and World Elite Academy being in LPL. I think the one team rule, they might, if it's something like this, they might just keep teams in LSPL. And I don't know if they qualify, then I guess they have to either sell them or I have no idea what they're going to do. I think it's a very sensitive situation because right now we already have the situation where the Korean League has gotten reduced, and a bunch of other regions have said that they won't accept more than 2 Koreans per team. So where does all the Korean talent go? And so right now it's being funneled into China to create all these like sister teams and make these giant corporate. Like the rumor is that OMG has bought 2 LSPL spots, Starhorn has bought 2 LSPL spots, supposedly EDG bought another LSPL spot. So all of these teams at least are picking up spots in the secondary league. Yeah, they're just like creating more and more giant teams to create like this conglomerate sister team. Like they're not just building 2 sister teams like in the Korean system. It's like 3 teams is like the minimum.
What do you think? We're going to talk about this. So obviously Tencent runs the league, and Tencent and Riot's power dynamic in China is different than pretty much everywhere else, obviously because Tencent owns a fair majority of Riot. Do you think that this is the primary cause that we see such a different structural dynamic in this region as opposed to like Korea? Do you think that Riot will ever be able to come in to Tencent and say, you need to do this and this is how we want this league? Because obviously they're very much trying to homogenize globally how league and the league structures themselves are done. I mean, do you think this is a possibility, or is Tencent too much of a heavyweight?
I think it's possible. I think that Tencent is willing to be cooperative. I think it's the same thing as Kespa. Like in theory, Riot coming in and talking to Kespa shouldn't matter, but they could probably negotiate. They probably negotiated with Kespa such that
one
Kespa
also own your company?
Well, no, but I don't think, like, the thing is that Kespa has enough power outside of just League to strong-arm them, and we saw, like, this sort of thing in StarCraft. Whereas, this time they chose to be cooperative because they didn't want to create another situation like that.
StarCraft and League is that League has a much larger global presence than StarCraft did, where StarCraft was it's still globally big, but it's very big in Korea, so they weren't necessarily competing with other like strong markets. Whereas now the Koreans have the choice of, hey, we don't want to just stay in Korea because they're the only people playing our game at the highest level. We can go to all of these other regions that will pay us more money and it will have just as much of a competitive scene. Like I think that changes the power dynamic between the StarCraft situation and the League of Legends situation.
I mean, in theory, but I think Kespa could still has enough power to get what they want if they really wanted to. It's just like that's the situation. Is I think Tencent is willing to be cooperative just to avoid like having huge problems and having huge conflicts. Like Tencent doesn't want to necessarily create like this huge shit show either. Like they don't necessarily they're very hands off in terms of broadcasting their league, things like that. They're controlling the server. It's not like Lace is a separate body that polices the organizations. It's not like this huge centralized thing like it is with Riot. So I think Tencent is more willing to sort of be cooperative insofar as they have power. I think Lace is willing to be cooperative in terms of so far as they have power. And since Lace is comprised of the organizations, like what they're saying is probably true. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Drexxin and Raz?
Drexxin? Yeah, see, I don't know, because I feel like the whole, thought of Riot being cooperative with a company much larger than them is, just kind of strange. I mean, I think it's possible, because I know they don't want, a shit show and, everything needs to be unanimous and whatever, but, I think a lot of it's just gonna, this is gonna sound, dumb to say, but I think a lot of it's gonna depend on, international results. And, I think if, China does too well, they might cut it, just so that the North American and European audience, or they might interfere just so the North American and European audience can be happier. But that's a little kind of off left field, I guess, for me. Yeah, it's a little conspiracy theorist of me, but I think that's definitely possible. But I mean, I don't know. I also don't think it's entirely necessary, and it's also a lot harder to control because China's just general population and amount of players that play the game is just so ridiculous compared to like, you know, Korea or anywhere else. Like in Korea, the like competitive population is still small enough to where you can like fit most of the really important talent on several different organizations, where I don't think that's the case with China. I don't think there's these like up and coming organizations that'll be able to pick up teams and like enter the league with, as opposed to stacking them on already pre-established esports organizations. I mean, again, I could be wrong, but it seems like you know, the structure of just how things work in that country is different compared to the other countries, and so like throwing this rule on them when like the context is different seems kind of weird. But it definitely could still be possible, because at the end of the day, most people only really care about, you know, the primary leagues and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it really does depend on the primary motivation that Tencent has. And it just depends on that, in how willing they are to really cooperate with Riot in certain rulings to really just linearize the, like, or just like, just make it a lot simpler internationally. So it's hard to comment on, but I do think that Tencent will be a lot more willing to listen to Riot. Probably more so than
this is
Kespa.
just an issue of ignorance, though, that people just don't realize? I mean, there were, let's not point fingers or name names, but there was, you know, instances of underage players, of sister teams participating. Do you think that this is just an issue that people don't realize that this is going on? Like, if you just broadcast, if this was all over Reddit front page, like, you know, Korea and LCS, they don't get to have sister teams. Why does China get to have sister teams? Do you think that people just don't realize that this is happening, that these players are, you know, their visas say 18, but...
I mean, people don't realize, or they don't care, because, I mean, there's players at Worlds that definitely weren't 18, but I mean, as long as it doesn't hit the public eye, nobody gives a shit. Like, if things are not front page on Reddit, people do not know they happen, like, in general, period. That's just how it is. Or unless Riot makes a statement, like, throws it on the front page of their client.
And I don't want to be dismissive or, I don't know, call anyone out again. It's just that I do think that there is a big issue of some of the ignorance of stuff that goes on in Chinese League of Legends. From Riot, and I don't know if it's lack of interest or difficulty to obtain information, but I do think that's part of it. Like, it's hard to police something when you're not really even aware
here's
of
an
what's
issue.
wrong. I don't know.
And correct me if I'm wrong, or kind of lead me with this. My thing is that Riot is very much selling a product. Obviously, they're selling their game, but they control the two regions in North America, EU. I think they're probably picking up, you know, some smaller regions, but their two primary regions are North America and Europe. And that's primarily where most of their coverage, like if you go on LOL Esports, that's, you know, they have coverage of the GPL, Korean, and Chinese regions, which the writers there do a good job, but it's more centralized and focused on, you know, the fantasy draft. I'm trying to, like, be as politically correct as possible, and it's nice to tiptoe around this as possible.
The writers do a good job.
You do a good job, Kelsey, Ion, Thomas, and Kelsey. Does Obscurica also write for
Obscurica? Yeah, Obscurica.
Yeah, I was in
GPL coverage.
Yeah, okay. They do a good job, but you know, they're selling this product, and the fact of the matter is that they're not selling the LPL. They don't make money off of the LPL. Well, I'm sure they probably do, but not in the same way that they do the NA and the EU. Do you think that this determines this? Is this a problem? Because this has always been my thing, but people don't realize it feels like the Western audience doesn't realize that Riot is selling a product. They need you to be invested in NA and EU, and I feel like they sell these storylines as far as objectively in kind of the competitive global context to make EU and NA a little bit more relevant than they probably are as far as accomplishments. Just objectively speaking, the accomplishments that these teams have made on the world stage. Like, Korea should be the #1 region being covered. Like, let's totally screw China. It all should be about Korea. But even Korea isn't as covered as these two regions because Riot controls these regions, because Riot needs a viewership for these regions, because Riot needs to make money off these regions. Does this all make sense?
Well, I think that Riot can make money off of the Korean and Chinese regions too. It's just that, like, because you can promote these regions and say, oh, look at the cool stuff that these players are doing, and this will sell games, right? Mm-hmm. This will sell things in the shop. Like, if this player in China that everyone really, really likes is wearing the skin, like, people will buy that skin, right? But the thing is that promoting China and promoting Korea, I think it requires a lot more effort, or it requires, like, hiring more translational staff. Requires being closer. yeah, being closer to the region. Like, I think you can promote Chinese in Korean League of Legends. I think it requires more investment because these players aren't as easily accessible. Like, not all the Korean players are on Twitter, like, saying stuff in English, right?
Yeah.
And there are no Chinese players on Twitter, so there's no, like, interaction with the fan base from these players that's very simple for them to pull off. So that grassroots interaction treatment of the fan base is really hard, so...
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
definitely surrounding
It's a lot.
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, I just want to say it's a lot easier to market North America and Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of staff that want to invest in this kind of thing, for one, and second, like it almost feels like like an intentional distribution of resources not to cover China, because that way they can push the narrative that China is always has these dark horse teams at Worlds. Like, they only actually do storylines and narratives for China teams when they get to Worlds, and so they could like play it as this like super mysterious region that like nobody knows about. Like, what are they up to this year? Even though, there's obviously constant coverage and tournaments and stuff like that going on. So like, in a way, it's like it's almost intentional. Like, and like I can understand you only do so much with so many resources, and I guess technically Korea should be the more important region to cover. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things to learn about China. They're not always this like big mysterious region. It's just this is what allows them to create the storylines that they enjoy, because they like intentionally push China in the dark and don't prioritize it so much, which I guess is like okay. I mean, I'd love more official Riot coverage of China, but in a way, it kind of works out for them, for your average like Worlds viewer anyway.
I think what it comes down to is just efficiency. I think they're as efficient with how much they have in terms of tools. Like, if they don't have, let's say, like the same issue comes with Garena as well, where they kind of don't do all too much or just promote many teams on their sites, and it's just simply because they don't really have the tools to do it, the staff work, and so how do you? I don't know. So they just kind of promote it as like kind of a mysterious region. It's like okay, because they don't really speak on it. They don't have much because they kind of give it off to Garena and Tencent in a sense. So I don't really expect much out of it simply because they handed most of the power away to these organizations. So I mean, they
I feel
handed
like
it a lot to
GPL is
Kespa,
like
so.
this bottle. You have all of these teams, but you have a really narrow neck to feed all of them through. So you get like a lot of talented players and talented teams that don't necessarily appear in the league because of structure of rules.
Pretty much. You see a lot more teams now that are actually a lot better. I remember looking.
LMS.
Yeah, and it's just basically Taiwanese teams, actually. I can't even say C. It's just basically Taiwanese teams that have just shown a lot of strength. And I don't know if it's just simply because they've been bottled through, or is it just the quality of the teams getting better? And I think it's probably just the bottle issue. So,
Moving back to our
Garena talk.
yeah, no, the Tencent Games Arena Carnival. We did, actually. We had a reason on. We talked about Legend. I always want to say Legend of Dragoon because I was a big Legend of Dragoon player, but it's Legend Dragon, which is really awkward as a name. Just if
There's a Z on it for the extra edge.
Oh, okay. See, if the person whoever
No, that's
named
Chinese
that watches this,
Korean dragons.
Yeah, it's Chinese Korean.
Oh, you're
Dragons.
right.
I'm really sad that they were a poor team, by the way. I wanted to say that name more often, so whatever.
Anyway.
LPL qualifiers. Anyway, LPL qualifiers. The LPL teams that made it, or the LSPL teams that made it into LPL, are going to be Snake, King, Woodlead Academy, GAMT, Vici Gaming, and Energy Pacemaker. Talk any more about them. We talked a lot about them last week. We've talked about Snake and King pretty much this entire time, and I feel like we've just all hyped them up to fail.
No, King will succeed. I think King will definitely succeed.
He's
And,
still on the King train.
and then, like, Snake won't. But you know what?
Okay, Raz, how can you say that, though?
I think it's just because of recent tournament results with King. Like, okay, yeah, sure, they weren't like super serious tournaments or anything like that. A lot of them were like promotional things, but like, I don't know, King did well against teams that were already established in the LPL.
I totally understand that, but all of these LPL teams just picked up like Korean talent.
Okay, but
like I totally get what you're saying, but is King gonna roll out the same when it's like Pawn or Cacao or Rookie or
I think initially,
Dandy or Mata or Imp or?
I think for spring it's possible.
Initially, I think like in spring, King will do really well. Probably take fourth. I don't know. It just depends on how every team shows up. But I think 100% that King will do well in the spring split. When it comes to the summer split, when teams start getting their shit together, like, and start like really having like ironing out communication and just like what what's called what team, like what strat really defines the team, because I think EDG will do will have a massive shift, because I'm hearing like rumors of Ray maybe going onto the main roster, and he's like a carry top laner compared to what Koro brings to the to the roster, and it feels like so much is happening in terms of like roster shuffle that those teams will like are gonna fail, or like at least in the initial portion of like maybe the first 5 weeks at like giving them
Yeah,
the benefit
I don't even want to say that they'll do well in spring split because of like the amount of time the makeup time that the teams might have, and also you have to think that the LPL might not start until February, so they have a little bit of time. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think though we're not just talking about Korean talent, and I think this is a pothole that we fall into that people fall into a lot. Is it's not the fact that Starhorn had the Korean talent, it's that they also tried to import the infrastructure, which I think is what really sealed the deal there. And King has made a lot of efforts to improve their infrastructure and to make the training efficient. So I think that's going to be one really strong selling point for King, that even if these teams are bringing in these Korean talent, it might not necessarily mesh well. They might not have the infrastructural changes that they need. So we'll see what happens.
Not to mention, it's also possible to say that King will succeed without meaning they'll win the LPL. But like, in a sense, I just feel like at the very least, I don't think King is going to get relegated to secondary league at all or anything like that. I think they have I think it shouldn't be too hard for them to just stay in the LPL at this point once they're in, which they are. So.
But this is how we're defining success, that you don't get relegated?
Well, no, not necessarily, but I mean, I don't know. I can't see, I mean, maybe they'll not always be top 4, but I mean...
Okay, here's my question. And this relates kind of to King, to the Korean experiment. Are you guys super familiar with the 4.20 patch yet? Have you looked at it?
Fairly,
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Would you say that analytically you're able to explain a meta or motifs that you can pick out of the new kind of playstyle, the new jungle, and apply it to the Chinese meta, theoretically?
And there are small things, yeah. I think that...
It depends if we're talking about the import junglers or if we're talking about old Chinese junglers, I guess.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. So if you feel like you have like an okay grasp of the 4.20 meta and what may become of it, how the game may evolve, and obviously this is all theoretical, it's very hard to theorycraft this because we haven't seen any of it. I don't think there's been a single tournament that's been played on it yet. Yeah?
You would be right.
Okay.
Say, yeah.
Communication.
Brazil.
We talked about... Okay,
Brazil, really?
Yeah.
Someone quickly pull up Brazil right now. No, what are they doing? Let's talk about communication as far as like the Korean experiments, because you all are saying that, you know, King's going to thrive at least for the beginning part of the split because they're not going to have communication issues. At least that's what I think the implications are. And obviously you're taking the historic context of how Starhorn Royal Club dealt with their Koreans. But I think what we're all missing is that the Koreans on Starhorn Royal Club have a very different play style than the other like S-tier Koreans that we're bringing in. And then like let's all combine this now with like the meta and how China will fare on the 4.20 patch. Example, I think Scuttle Crab is amazing for the Chinese teams. Why do I think Scuttle Crab is amazing for the Chinese teams? Because Scuttle Crab is around Dragon and Baron Pit, and the LPL teams use objectives to force team fights because that's what they do really well, and they're kind of like shitty at sieging. Like they've gotten better at it, obviously, but still it's all about like the Baron. And the Scuttle Crab has a movement speed bonus. So think about the EDG comp with Nunu, Kale, Lulu, Jinx. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yep.
Now think about that like on a Baron bait on top of a movement speed shrine and how well that works for EDG. Okay?
But then again, the area might seem just like more just generally disadvantageous for the team that doesn't have it, so there might be less fights around there just for that reason. Like people might just not even fight there unless
we didn't get the crowd, boys. We can't go in.
I mean, like okay, if EDG or like so say theoretically EDG like forces the Dragon or Baron, like yes, they'll have to come to them. But I mean, a lot of the times I think people just aren't going to just fight for territorial control over there, and so that kind of stuff dissipates. Okay, I maybe I'm just putting too much faith, but I'm just saying like it makes sense to kind of like you know, like distribute your distribute your pressure elsewhere until that disadvantage isn't there. I mean, it still will probably happen. There's going to be advantages there, like no doubt. But I do think that there's not going to be a lot of fights there during like Scuttle Grab being up because it's that plus the vision you get everywhere else just from warding in general. So it's I don't know.
I think they're more likely to fight over Scuttle Crab than their own ward coverage in previous seasons, just because I feel like the Chinese teams are drawn to like monster-shaped objectives.
It also
I knew you were going towards that.
They don't have to buy a ward to get vision.
Like,
no, okay, but here's
I can see them alting
take
Scuttle
Baron and
Crab. It's gonna be
Dragon
great.
than Towers.
if you agree with this theory, then that leads to more objective-based team fighting. And as far as communication, like communication to me is much more important in making rotations and wave control and minion management than it is for objective-based fighting. Like obviously how the Chinese fight is like incredibly beautiful and how they lay down their cooldowns and make sure that the spread of damage is even, so like a chasing target will die, like, you know what I'm saying? So they don't waste cooldowns on targets that are already dead. But I feel like the S-Korean talent that they get will know well enough to do that in a team fight, and they won't need communication to be a crutch there. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if the team fight meta, like, focuses around these objectives, I feel like there's going to be no issues with communication. Whereas, if they try to play rotation-based, that's where things will start to fall apart. This is my question.
I think the objective focus would just shift a lot more because from the teams that we've already seen play, they will play, I wouldn't say a lot more like Koreans, but they'll play a lot smarter in that if they see a fight that's not advantageous for them, they will just go elsewhere. And now with the new patch, 4.20, you get so much more incentive in just taking a tower instead. Because the team that trades Scuttle Crab Dragon for a tower, the team that takes the Scuttle Crab Dragon will lose out because you have like a lot less. It's like
a Black Friday sale. You get the crab, you get the dragon half off.
I think that also depends on like which dragon you're on, because I feel like that's going to make it kind of awkward just because of how lopsided some of the dragon rewards are. Like after the first two, it doesn't feel like the other ones are like super essential. So like, it's like, are people just going to like give up the other two dragons and favor towers after they get the first two? Or like, that's something I'm kind of curious about.
I think the second dragon. I mean, the second dragon's really strong in my opinion because
yeah, that's what I meant. Like, after the first two dragons.
Oh yeah, but like, yeah, that's true, definitely. But it just, I guess, in the first dragon, it's really just about getting this stat, like the investment, because once you go for the next dragon, suddenly you're fighting for the second dragon. The enemy team's still fighting for the first one, so you'll get that early power spike. So a team that's really moving for the siege / kind of like scaling comp will be a lot better off. So I don't. It just really
got a big buff, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really difficult to say what teams will really focus down what early, because if you're taking the dragon, obviously, in Scuttle Crab over the tower, you're going to be sacrificing the gold, but will you really need the gold once you come in for the next? It's like, it's weird. And I really love how 4.20 is really moving forward with that. And there's like so much diversity in what plan you take forward. But I think teams will just go for
I hate you.
I don't know. I feel like no, honestly, I feel like first dragon's huge. And then after that, they might just give it up. I don't know.
Diversity hype. Raz is buying into the diversity.
They just make everything equal. No one can make the wrong
It's gonna be more about preventing teams from getting their first and second dragons once you already establish that. But other than that, like, I don't know.
Okay, in my opinion, every season starts with that diversity though, because no one knows what the fuck to do. What the most efficient way to play.
And then the Koreans start data mining.
Yeah. So like the moment people realize that, like, hey, why don't we just play Jace Rise every game, and like, I don't know.
What with you and Rise?
Initially Rise was really strong.
Oh, initially, and then what happened?
And then now you can just
He got gutted.
He lost like 80 damage on his Q.
Still getting solo queue, man.
For his lane trading purpose, and he has no like ability to survive lane phase because he's building a fucking tier first, so that's gonna give him sweet battle stats. Let me ride into that dragon fight with a tier. Here we go, boys.
Hey, no one's gonna be now you don't have to group for the dragon, so like I feel like it's gonna be easier for him this way. So I don't know. Kelsey?
Come on, you're trying to talk like 4 times.
Just my thing about dragon is that you don't necessarily need the dragon, right? That's not like necessarily your modus operandi.
Like the first one you need, man.
No,
it's like a mini Baron buff.
I'm saying. Like No, this is what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
that you don't need it at the beginning, like
Yeah.
necessarily, like 8% isn't going to matter that much, but the reason why you take it, the reason why you contest it is because you don't want the enemy team to have it late game and you not have it. So, like, you have to contest the dragon because if you just let them have enough buffs and let them have all the stacks for free, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So this is why you contest the dragon. But not necessarily for your own personal game, but just so that they don't have something extra that you don't have.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
guess.
And it really does come to Dragon Denial. I think Denial will be a lot more important than just taking Dragon itself. Because once
Yeah,
you
exactly.
deny the enemy team, because it's so easy this time because Dragon does more damage. And it does like AoE damage too. So it's like, holy shit, who would want to start the Dragon? It's like the first
Well,
team to start the Dragon will be like so worse off. That's like, it just, I don't understand the
Well,
reasoning
yeah,
behind it.
because people treat Dragon like, well, from the games I've seen, like I've watched a couple Brazilian games, and the way like the typical way to tank Dragon is kind of like MMO style, right? Like you face it away from the group, and the group just beats at it from like the entrance of the pit. But the thing is that traps that one person responsible for like taking the Dragon like inside the pit. So it's actually
Yeah.
really
Yeah, Phil.
dangerous to take Dragon. Yeah. So basically, your front line is in the back so that the Dragon damage doesn't split, and it's really dangerous for whoever's doing it. Like it's a lot easier to stop Dragon than it is to take Dragon at that point.
Mhm. So yeah, teams,
So
I think, yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say what they should do is they should just like obviously like ward the banana brush underneath, have Fiddle stand in the corner of the dragon pit because you can't see if he's standing there if he's like in the little ledge. And then as soon as you see them over the ward, Fiddle starts charging his ult, and then bam, everyone hits the speed shrine. Fiddlesticks Crow storms on top of you with like 25% increased movement speed.
Hell yeah, dude! Let's get Illusion back in here. Come on, we're good now.
You're welcome, Alliance.
Yeah, I know. And he's getting replaced by Cacao, right? So whatever.
Oh man.
I think I should like talk about how okay, I should probably say how I feel like the early
How do you
games
feel?
will okay. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
How you doing, Raz?
Oh. But
Hi,
yeah.
Raz.
Hi, Raz.
I
I'm
think
sorry that I said I hate you. I don't actually hate you.
Yeah, she was
know.
like gonna cut a bit. She's
I'm
like, "What did
storing
he say
that-
about Dragon?"
I'm storing that grudge. It's like I don't have a pocket on me. Where am I putting this grudge? Okay, but like the way I feel like the game's gonna be played out is that you'll be seeing a lot more emphasis on poke. Like you'll see poke slash like siege slash scaling. So like that's why I said like Jace, the triple tier kind of thing will be coming in where Jace, Ezreal, and Rise will come in because they will easily deny the enemy team for even like thinking about taking early dragons. So teams will try and go in for the early dragons, obviously, and they'll
Why would
poke
rise up when the carry top laner should rise up?
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Okay, like Rise uses 80 damage on his Q.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the lane with a tier.
Mhm.
What's to stop China from just, since it's China, picking Jax? Because that's what they
Oh.
love to do. Or picking Aurelia, or, you know what I'm saying? And just, like,
Yeah.
dumpstering on him now
Yeah.
that he's lost so much power. Like,
Aurelia
but now that it's
dumpsters new Rise. It's bad.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand the Ezreal and the Jace thing. I'm totally with you on the tier, but I think you need to let Rise go to his farm.
Yeah,
State.
he is giveaway. I think I just loved Rise too much in that comp. Like,
He just wants 3 tiers.
just like as many tiers.
You can't have 3 tiers, Raz. Like I
Okay.
know
Fine.
you can't. Then you realize why you can't have 3 tiers, right?
I understand.
We got top,
Okay, good.
dude. Come on. Believe it.
Good.
Man. All right, but like okay, but yeah, you keep the Rise. I mean, you keep the Ezreal. Maybe not Ezreal. Have Corki because
No, it's China. They'll play Ezreal.
Okay, yeah, but Corki Ezreal, either way works. You have the Jace, and so they deny the enemy team from even thinking about getting Dragon, and you'll keep the game at a point in which you can siege slash like just stall out until a point in which you have that power spike and you can contest dragons or even take it. So I feel like at that point, it's going to be a massive game installing out because no one wants to take dragon first because unless if they
The
can.
rise of EDG.
Oh god. So that's just my opinion. People are gonna like probably bash on me and that it's like a shitty opinion, but I just like
Gamgee.
Yo,
I
I think the first dragon is definitely more risky because of the value you put on it. I mean, literally, what we're doing is we're shifting an objective that used to get stronger as the game goes on to an objective that's like the opposite now, where like the
Yeah.
first one's the best compared to like if you got the first dragon before, like it was an advantage, but it wasn't gonna like just shit on you if you got it early in the game. Like it's like completely shifted now.
I feel like this is gonna be more Dota and like games are just gonna go out until the 40-minute mark all the time, and I'm just gonna hate myself because of course you have the tier 2 towers that I feel like I don't know about Yeah, the
What do you
the
think
towers are
about
hard to take, and it's
the
just like,
shifted power of Baron for the Chinese team specifically?
oh, that's gonna be awkward.
Like the fact that China was never known for its great wave management and its wave manipulation, or its tower sieging potential at all. It's known for tower diving. It's known for team fighting. So now you take away all the team fighting potential out of Baron and you shift it to minion wave control. But obviously, like Baron is a primary objective. We talked about it and theorized that it's a primary objective because it forces them to fight. Like if China wants you to fight it, it just goes to Baron because you have to fight it. But like now, the Baron doesn't mean as much as it did in terms of what they used it for.
But I think China, the Chinese scene as a whole, will just like it's definitely evolving to a more efficient way of playing. People are gonna say Korean, but I just want to say I want to like change that mindset and saying it's just the most efficient way of playing, or
Cuba
like the
would
best
cut
way.
you.
Oh God, it's Cubo.
Sorry.
He's running the chat right now. He like stopped what he was doing. He's like, someone's talking about my Korean theory.
I'm gonna have to
Like-
change the overlay back to Hubo.
I forgot you said that. Holy shit! I think I'm just like subliminal messaging is going through, but honestly,
And
it
next
is.
week we'll have Hubo on instead of Raz.
No one will tell the difference.
But I just hate whenever like someone like looks at the way the game is supposed to be played and they're like, "Oh, that's Korean," and you're like, "Maybe if you just fucking played that way,
He
you'd
must be
winning
like
more
total
games."
caps locks like in chat right now, just losing his mind.
Ah, God.
Yeah, I mean, I think relative to Korea, it hurts China. On a global scale, not so much, but I do think relative to Korea, it will, especially just because I personally feel that split pushing is going to be a lot more of a thing in this patch. And so when you're trying to force Baron and someone's like, running bottom with a ruin potion and like a banner of command minion, like I think China's going to be like, what do? I don't understand.
Well,
They
Kelsey,
do. That's why they're playing Jax. Because
thank you. I was just going to ask you to bring up your Jax theory and why you think
The reason-
Jax is still a
The
champion.
reason why they play Jax is because Jax is like the most straightforward split pusher. They're like, we have to split push this game, okay? Better bring out the Jax. Let's go. Let's trade that Baron for that inhib and lose the game to Royal again. Yeah. Woo!
Well, Kelsey, you
Woo!
also thought that Jax had a very straightforward dive mechanic as far as the AD carry is concerned.
That's the other thing, is that he does have the very straightforward dive mechanic if you want to isolate the AD carry. So, like, Aurelia, Jax, like, those are their split-pushing champions. Those are the only champions that are allowed to split-push in China. I think this will all change. I think it's already changing. Like, we saw OMG, Najin, White Shield. They played, like, a very similar composition to it. Najin Shield was, like...
that's
my
OMG.
favorite. This was like one of my favorite tweets by Chris. Is that he's like, oh, okay, Najin White Shield, just let them have their composition that they used to win the gauntlet, and they let them have it on purple side. Okay, this is going to be painful. Like, eh.
But my thing
yeah.
is that's OMG. OMG is known as like the creative, versatile, like setting the trend for LPL. They've always been that team, as opposed to like refining like one style. Like Starhorn Royal Club. Like if we were going to have like the three different Chinese mentalities, I feel like we would have Starhorn Royal Club, the Chinese typical aggression, the fast, hard paced. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll dive you, they'll kill you, they'll chase you. You got Uzi, you got Insect. Then you have OMG, which obviously more versatile. They can play the poke, they can play the tower dive, obviously known as, like, the tower dive kings. Those tower dives against Starhorn Royal Club, even though they lost that series, were disgusting. I think they tower dove, like, 3 times in a row without losing a single person or taking a single tower. It was amazing. And then you have EDG, like the stall-out kings. They are very non-traditional in Chinese, other than they really like Baron and they really like team fighting, but, they don't play that hyper-aggressive snowball. At least they haven't in the past, except when they get to playoffs, they suddenly go Super Saiyan. And then forget it all at Worlds. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, that's like also like some teams will do well in China, but I'm just saying like I think we were talking like China relative to Korea. That's the only thing is I don't think OMG will do that better than Korean teams is all. But
I don't think
hopefully I'm
OMG will
wrong.
do well at all. I don't know.
Oh no! Don't say that.
This guy!
I don't know, man.
Every time I doubt OMG like every split, and they always somehow manage to be at the top for the regular season. So
And
I
they
don't
troll
know,
you really
whatever.
hard too, because oh my god, it's so good. I just can't believe they
always-
just switch supports in
they just
playoffs. So like,
choke.
all right,
It's like
time to
the
bring out the
man.
true guns.
Okay, let's talk about
Yeah.
talented players that get lost in the shuffle. We've talked a lot about on Korean Talk. We talk a lot about Koreans and how the Koreans will impact the game, the Korean communication, and what it's going to bring to LPL. Let's talk about all the players that the Koreans took the jobs from. Let's talk about Jiangun, even though his team got kicked. So obviously, Young Glory out, very talented mid laner. We've talked very highly of him. XQ replaced supposedly by Imp. We got Emmy being replaced by Dandy, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dandy. And then Zitai, who is now supposedly replaced by Rookie. Start
We're
wherever
talking
you
about. What are we talking about? Dandy? You said Dandy?
Did you just zone out for the last like 20 seconds? No, okay. So I made Diangun, XQ, Zitai. And basically, we're just going over like shuffles and like Korean, basically not Korean, Chinese talent that deserves to stay. Yeah.
I
mean, all of those.
What will happen to the? Okay, so this is effectively the 2 Koreans per team rule was implemented so that, quote unquote, they would protect the growing Chinese talent, right? But
That's working out well.
They're effectively doing the opposite of that, right? They're replacing the new rising talent, which I think all of us would agree that IME and like XQ are like up and coming, new generation, big shots in the Chinese League of Legends scene. But they just aren't there yet, and so they're the ones who are getting replaced, not like the superstars, right? Who are already established. So the question is like, is that what is the 2 Koreans per team rule accomplishing what it set out to accomplish?
Thank you for re-paraphrasing my question, but you didn't answer it. XQ,
I'll answer it. XQ and Diangun being replaced or not playing in LPL is just depressing, man. Like, okay, XQ, Imp's a better AD carry than XQ, but like, XQ like showed I want to say he showed the fastest improvement in LPL because he had really big shoes to fill because everybody was like jerking off over Styes, and then so when XQ came in, people like they were just like, oh, well, okay, that bottom lane's probably going to suck now, or PYL's going to have to carry really hard, and then he just held his own. And then it transitioned into, oh, well, he's just a Lucian one-hit wonder, and he can't play anything else. And they started playing other stuff and winning, and then everybody just kind of, like, unanimously agreed, okay, this guy's actually really good. And as soon as he was able to display his talent, barely didn't make it to Worlds, and now he's not even going to be in the LPL. It's like, shit, man. It sucks for him. So this is a guy that had to prove himself against a lot of doubters, and barely didn't make it to Worlds, just in halfway through his first split, and now he has nowhere to go right now. So
he's also a Graves player, and Graves got a decent sized buff with Lucian's nerf.
Yep.
Yeah, he was, I guess, like he was a Vayne player.
Vayne Graves Jinx Lucian, and couldn't play Tristana, which hurt him. Which obviously they didn't make it to Worlds when Tristana was big, but
yep.
I thought he played Tristana decently, actually.
No, PYL made it so I just read Drexxin's interview, like when it came out, and they specifically said that he wouldn't be able to play Tristan. Like PYL doesn't let him play Tristan.
No, PYL for the longest time didn't let him play anything but Lucian. Like that was the problem. Like everyone thought he couldn't play anything because PYL. Like my understanding is that PYL was pretty much like
the Mata.
Was just pretty much constantly telling XQ that you suck at every champion but Lucian, you can't play all this stuff. No, like he was like being the tough mentor. That's my understanding.
XQ sprinting away from the team. He's like, "Thank God I'm free." As he walks in, he just taps on the shoulder.
I wouldn't go by what PYL said that he can play. Like just saying, because I don't know. I feel like he can play a lot more than what PYL gave him credit for.
Did they make it to Worlds, Kelsey?
PYL was stifling his talk. No, I really like PYL, so whatever. I mean, he's known as a good leader for a reason. So,
okay, which is a good point to start at, because LGD, the reason why they didn't make it to Worlds is
the jungler that they still have.
Yeah, come on, Amy. Like, let's get him on the team. This is the biggest.
Come on, guys, Amy.
It's something that's so frustrating. Is that like there are certain stars who are in
Amy
the
G
Chinese
and
scene.
Goon and XQ
Yeah.
form a new team.
Okay, this is what we'll do. We'll move Wayless to the top lane. We'll put Amy in the jungle, and we'll put Diane Gun in the mid lane, and then we'll have Imp and PYL. There you go, LGD.
Exactly. There you
Isn't
go.
Wayless
to me.
still on LGD? Or
Yeah,
did I
he is.
miss something? Okay.
Yeah.
He is.
So we still need we still
Unless
just
you
need a
know
top
something,
laner.
Kelsey.
We need a top laner to support them. So
300.
300. There we go. We
There you go.
got to support. Let's get a top laner in here.
Why did we kick PYL?
He's already on. No, we're getting
we're forming a team from the castaways. It's
Yeah.
Rising Talents.
Oh, we're forming a new team. We'll call them
Yeah.
the Rising LGD.
the Rising.
The Rising. I don't know. The
I
Rising.
think if you put Rising after LGD, it sounds more epic. Then it sounds like
displaced-
EDG Future.
we
It's
can
like
call them
LGD
the-
Rising, and it sounds
LGD
epic.
Rising.
It's like a sequel.
We can call them the orphans. I don't know.
Well, that's
We'll
just
call them the
depressing.
Little
though.
Rascals.
That's
The Little
the-
Rascals.
Okay, that's
She went
slightly
from
less
like orphans to like volleyballs, and now we're at Little Rascals, like alfalfa. I don't even understand.
I like the
Sandlot.
fact that we had like such an epic team like LGD Rising and it's like the orphans. Suddenly we're just like settling on the
Yeah, what is
orphans,
this?
The Batmans.
and we're
Why are we degenerating our cool team names? What's going on?
Okay, we talked about XQ. Do we want to cover Jan Gun?
See, on one hand, it's like Jiangun is really, really good, but on the other hand, like I don't think he has much to lose by not being an LPL like other players do, just because he's pretty popular. And I don't think it'll take long for him to get picked up, but I could be wrong. I mean, if
My
he
thing
chooses
with
to
him,
continue
though,
pursuing LPL.
Is his consistency. He's either amazing. He's like Zatai. Like they're pretty much the exact same player to me. They have like amazing champion pools. They can play assassins incredibly well. But it's like, are they going to show up today, or are they going to, smoke a pack of cigarettes while they play and order some duck? Like,
Oh, I see that reference. That was like no one will
Okay.
understand that reference by the way.
unless you watch
no
his
one's gonna
stream.
get that. Okay. So for Jan Good fans, no. He thinks like that's my thing. I think Zatai also. I considered Zatai kind of like a cast-off player, but also he's been wanting to retire for a while. I think so. I can't really do that. Whereas Jan Gooden, I feel like his chance was that he's really good friends with IG's owner, but if IG's not going to pick him up, then he's pretty much done. I guess he's just going to stream, which I don't think he has a problem with that again.
No, I think that's fine for him.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't. He like my understanding is that before the expansion, he was telling people that his team sucks anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't try all that hard.
And as far as Zitai goes, I mean, I think it's actually a good time for him to retire because things are getting intense enough to the point where he can't really rely on that like niche of.
He has to try.
Yeah, like he has to try for one. You can't just get bored in that league anymore. Like you have to actually be pretty well invested into the game, and you can't just like pull out these like random things to win nowadays just because the general talent, and especially with the inclusion of like Koreans and improved infrastructure, like it doesn't like really fly for him anymore. So I mean, I love Zitai as a player, but I can kind of like recognize the fact that what he was strong for is not something that's going to be applicable to like competition as it gets like steeper and steeper. Personally,
This
I don't
is
know.
my worry about Fire Lolly, right? Is that I feel like he apparently has the same backstory as Zatai. It's just like he was doing this for fun, and he comes from a really wealthy family. So I don't know, and wasn't really that interested in competitive. So I wonder how Fire Lolly is going to do with that same kind of context.
So
Yeah,
here's
go
the
on.
thing then. Since we're talking about Zatai being replaced, obviously this now comes out to the new rumor of Kakao and Rookie, their epic saga. I feel like it's the
like we've
odyssey of
come
where
full
they're going to
circle.
end up.
Because the first thing I heard pretty much when Kakao and Rookie were over is that they're going to join Invictus Gaming because they're having lunch with Zatai on that show or whatever. So it was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's been that way all along.
But that's the thing, is that now supposedly the IG, manager, owner leaked that Kakao and Rookie were joining the team. So this is replacing, obviously Illusion is retiring, the Skarner player, the Jarvan player,
Yeah.
the fiddle player.
The
the
Fiddlesticks player,
legendary
come on.
Fiddlesticks player.
God bless Solution.
Oh my god, that was so amazing. I was so excited to see. Okay, so I'd heard, I have to tell the story because we're gonna have a little moment. We had PDD and Wei Xiao's, remembrance. Now we're gonna remember Illusion. When I
Not
first
quite
heard
as
casting-
glorious at all times.
not quite as glorious. When I first heard about
Hey
Illusion,
man, I love Illusion. All right.
first started casting, I hadn't seen his Fiddlesticks games, but I was told, like, Kelsey kept telling me, she's like, you know, watch out for this Fiddlesticks pocket pick. Like, this is this is the thing that he used to be known for. When it comes out, you got to be excited. It's going to be important. The Fiddlesticks pick finally comes. I'm like, this is my time to shine. The pocket Fiddlesticks. I get to see my favorite team's jungler just kind of take it to it. Literally goes 1-8. They won the game, but he literally went 1-8, and it was amazing.
I think he won that game for them,
did.
though.
He
and
absolutely
people will
won that
argue with
game.
me all the time, but I think he won that game for them because he just like
he would
went
trade
1-8.
himself for the enemy Syndra. So every time this Fiddlesticks
No, he
would
traded
go
himself for Uzi Eye, like every time.
Oh, that's like
was
one in a
glorious.
lifetime trade right there.
it was
Worth.
amazing. But Illusion was like one of the most aggressive junglers in LPL. I feel like he was super hit or miss. He was either amazing. I remember he still have those little Mobies on his Skarner, and he would gank top, gank mid, gank bottom, and then gank mid again, all in within like a 2-minute period. And he got kills like everywhere he went. People were like, how did you not see that gank coming? He walked through like 6 wards, if there were 6 wards in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my
Kind of.
Illusion speech.
Dude,
I remembered Illusion. I love
Okay.
you, Illusion.
I love Illusion. 'cause-
His Fiddlesticks won. I am Singapore, okay? Just want to say that.
Dude, I remember the way I got into Chinese League, I'm pretty sure, was based on IG, which is why I love IG so much. Which is, I don't know, I'm kind of sad he's going away. He's going away off into the sunset.
He's riding off to the sunset on the
Yeah.
farm with Rise. He's
On
going
Hack Room.
upstate. On Hack Room.
On Hack Room, god damn. Yeah, he was a really, really interesting jungler. Like him along with ZZ Tai, like the nonsense they would pull with like Skarner, because I love Skarner too, so I just feel like I have that connection.
It was just so perfect. It was good at tower diving. It was good at chasing. It wiggled when
Exactly.
it moved through the jungle.
Every time, just like seeing him speed up, it's like it was like the most entertaining thing to watch. Was his
Illusion
zoom.
a cruising.
But I really did love him. And then, by the way, just seeing the last matches, maybe their last matches, I'm not exactly sure actually. No, I can't say that. I think they played against King, and then they lost to King. But like, ZZ Tai's when he pulled out Azir was so good. It was so amazing. And then you saw King use Azir, and it's like, okay, that's lackluster. And then you just like realize that like ZZ Tai can just pick up a random champion like as new as they are, and it'll just play perfectly with them. And it's like, wow, this guy is like, well, ZZ Tai is amazing. Why would you replace him? And then you realize when other people like start to master those champions, and you're like, okay, well, there goes that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see who the IG fans are versus the quiet two
See,
in the middle.
no, seriously, no, I totally agree, actually. And it's funny because I feel like IG would win so much more if it was always on the live patch.
Yeah.
Because they would always have the advantage of, like, new shit to play, I swear.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like IG is gonna lose its identity because I feel like Illusion and Zatai kind of controlled this identity with their pocket picks. So
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see what happens if they have Kakao and Rookie instead.
And PDD
Hey, man,
earlier,
I'm-
I mean,
Not
so...
that Kakao and Rookie had like the most sane playstyle ever on KTA, but you know, whatever.
No, it's
be
IG
really
isn't
fair-
going to really be IG for what they're known for. It's just going to be a brand slapped on, essentially.
Kid and Kitties were a very solid spine of IG. Like, if you had the craziness of Illusion
Well, yeah,
and Zatai
but-
going on, like, Kid had a very solid and stable performance last split. And if you bring in a pair like Kakao and Rookie, since they already have this established relationship in the Arrows, like, their synergy is amazing. Like, where do you project that puts IG in the rankings as far as teams?
I mean, the other rumors that we can't discount is that supposedly IG might also pick up Save. So I don't know. That could give us a bunch of different players.
They're going to take
choose from.
Flame, too. They're going to take, what's his name? OQ. They're going to take Flame. We're going to buy...
And the speculation is still out there that Kakao and Rookie could end up split up, so they could get like Save and Kakao, right? So
No, man, I can't. I don't know. I want to see KT, Rolster, Invictus. No, I gotta work on that.
Invictus Rolster. Come on.
Well,
Invictus Rolster. Okay, there we go.
China likes
Like,
likes to share the wealth of KT Roaster a little bit here.
IG
You gotta
Roaster.
distribute
it could
yeah.
end up with another Vici situation where they buy 4 Koreans and then sell 2 of them instantly because they don't want to put it on another team. I don't know what Vici Gaming's doing. It's cool.
I feel like there's like a secret I'm not supposed to use a certain terminology. Kelsey declined me on this, but there's like a black market going on right now in China of like these Korean goods coming in, and there's these undercover deals being made where it's like, oh, I'll trade you 2 Koreans for that Chinese mid and that Korean AD carry, or I'll give you this Korean for what's a heart worth these days.
Oh god, it really does feel like that.
Yeah.
It does.
Because they got like Heart and they got Sketch, and you're like, oh man, Vici Gaming. Wait a minute, what are they gonna? They said that their second team was gonna have like full Chinese play. What do you have these players for?
Yeah,
and then just
I
sell
don't
them. And you're like,
understand.
okay, I guess they're just
Well,
gonna.
a lot of these teams were a lot of these teams were holding. A lot of them were
Really
holding on to players,
interesting
so other players
thing-
can get them, right?
The
It's
really
possible.
interesting thing is this poll, I forget which website it was, that was posted that showed like OMG as having the most support of any team for the first time in like, I don't know, ever.
World Elite history.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. So I think, and then surprisingly, for being such a young team and in LPL, King had like really, really high support as well. And I think some of that support is coming from the fact that they're doing like all Chinese players. So I see Vici Gaming like wanting. I can see some of these. Excuse me. I can see some of these teams wanting to have like an all Chinese team as like a marketing tool, and then have a team with 2 Koreans on it as like what they consider their like, I don't know, breadwinner. I don't know. Like, this is kind of how I see these organizations playing right now. So
Honestly, it's a smart tactic simply based on the ruling of needing to have local talent. So once you are able to breed local talent within like I guess a lesser, maybe an amateur stuff, well, just even like at the highest regard, like an LSPL team, then you can just bring them on whenever you feel like, okay, well, we like lost a a Korean player or whatever, or we need to fill that void. Then they can just bring in whoever they have that is a Chinese player. That, of course, just for the rules, I guess. So that's always nice.
That got dark real quick.
Wow. I don't know. It just I just feel
Drexxin?
yeah. Go on.
No,
I just feel like he has this really thoughtful face.
No, I mean, like, honestly, I don't really. That's more my like hungover face. no, but seriously, no, I mean, there's so many different ways to distribute this stuff, and it does feel really weird, like the way they do it, just because like it feels so like, you know, nonchalant and casual, just the exchange of players in China, and it just like it feels like so like devaluing. Like, I understand that these are actually just like resources for these companies to like win tournaments, but it's a interesting feeling. But like, yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of teams that are just like holding on to talent also just for the fact that other people can't buy them, which is like indirectly an advantage to that organization.
That's what I'm saying. They're just gonna grab like every single player and they're just gonna bench all of them, and then Name won't have to compete with anyone for the title.
That's
Nope,
how you get
okay.
the world's
Yep,
stuff.
there you go.
That's how you do it. You just buy all the players and
Okay.
bench them. Let's actually go through the rosters, because I just want to clarify and kind of give people an
what
updated
rosters?
What rosters? Projected
Already
rosters. Start with OMG. What does that team look like right now? Like, who is for sure confirmed? Who is maybe not confirmed in the mid lane in that area?
Okay, for sure we have Going and Loveling. Other than that, I don't know. Like,
We got Going and Leveling, which Leveling plays support, jungle, and everything, and Going plays AD carry and top. So we have no idea where they're going. Cool,
He's not going. He's not going to go AD carry. Is not going AD carry.
Are you sure? Because he
Are you
played pretty well.
positive?
That was so
I'm
bad.
positive. He has
What?
said on multiple occasions since that he's not going to play.
Thank God.
Better.
Yeah.
That was
Better
just
than
painful,
Sam.
man. No way. Nope. Not even going there. No way Going is better than
Okay.
San as AD carry.
Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah. And then we have, why do you hate San? What is wrong with
I don't hate him. I'm not.
You
I'm
hate
just,
him.
I'm just saying.
You hate him.
Going when he played AD carry, even though his skills were like iffy, he was like
Okay,
a playmaker.
he was trying
like,
to
he jumped
melee.
in.
San was
Okay,
good as shit,
out
dude.
of everything you're going to define an AD carry, playmaker is not the word that you want to use.
Okay.
Okay, so the rumors, okay. Cloud has been on stream saying, you know, he was thinking about retiring. The thing is with like these popular
1 year
support
of
players,
professional play, retirement.
the thing about support players, right, is that they can be very popular, but not necessarily have the most lucrative streaming careers because no one really wants to watch support that much.
Rest in peace, special on TSM. Or
Yeah, so I mean, it's except in occasions. So even FCZF has been like on and off the bench about retiring forever. Which Wei Xiao came out on stream and said, "Oh, he's retiring," and everyone was like, "Oh my God, is he retiring?" FCZF himself has said he's retiring on stream on several occasions, but his girlfriend has come out and said, he's not retiring.
To this day, he's still trying to retire.
His manager has said, "I don't think he should retire because it's not as lucrative for support players to retire." I mean, he's said that he's not retiring also in interviews, so it's really hard to say what FCZF is going to do. But back to Cloud.
Kelsey,
Cloud has said he was thinking of retiring, but he's not leaving OMG. So San, supposedly he's not going anywhere. He's still on the team. We don't really know. Like, there have been so many rumors. Every single offseason there are rumors about replacements for San. It's usually like Uzi.
I think we're gonna have the cop factor where he just goes into an LSPL team.
No way, dude. No way. Okay, San on OMG is nowhere near like freaking space on Frost or something. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. It's not bad. I'm saying, okay. My issue with San is that it's never his fault in the sense that he will always be placed with a support that is like, it's always iffy, like who's his support's gonna be in like the next year. It's like it really does remind me of Curse, where Cop was never having a stable support, and so when he finally does, I feel like what San is in the end of the day, he has a great champion pool. Like for instance, he played Vayne recently. I'm pretty sure. If my memory, like I don't remember, like my memory is pretty on and off sometimes.
He has a fine champion pool. Like
yeah,
he's much better at hyper carries than he is at like. Everyone thinks he's an only Lucian player, but I think it took him like forever to get decent at Lucian enough for Worlds. Like he just came out suddenly able to play Lucian at Worlds. Like I don't know.
Cool.
He's fine. Cool. We went over the details of Cool's contract last time, but pretty much supposedly it works like this: is that whoever has the highest offer, OMG still has a chance to match the offer. They were willing to pay him quite a lot of money when he was renewing his contract anyway, so it's not unlikely that they could do it, but Vici Gaming seems like fairly confident that he's going to sign with them, so we don't know. If not Cool, then it'll be Shi Young.
I think Vici Gaming has such a good chance of getting him, because of course they're looking to sell like Hart, who I think is like going to find a team. Like a team will want to pay for him.
Why? Hart is like not a good. Like there are better. There are so many better support players in China than Hart.
There are, but like, if that mattered, they would have gotten.
Sadly,
they would have gotten like 300.
If that mattered,
I know. This is the thing that's like this though. It's just that we saw Sukhum. Like Sukhum was voted onto the All Stars team. Like Sukhum is popular. He's talented, but he got replaced by Ninja. Like, and then whoever, so you know how much I harp on Ninja? Yeah. Whoever, like, Hart is going to be my new Ninja, pretty much. Like, whoever he replaces, I have this feeling Hart is going to, unless it's Conan, then I guess, like, whatever.
Whoa! Wow. Conan is the last standing member to support on World Elite, okay?
Can we just get rid of Conan? Maybe.
I can't believe she just, like, took her aggression out on Conan, of all people. Jesus.
I can't sell that Conan was like this amazing guy. So
Conan 1v1 Chuen and killed him. Lee Sin versus Vel'Koz.
That's Chuen being shit, man.
Chuen's number one champion is Lee Sin.
That's because he can only win on that champion, not because he's good on it. I mean, he used to be.
The moment that happened to Chuen, they should have just literally just like kicked him off the team. Like,
they should have just finished the match 4v5, like thrown him off the seat. It's been like, yeah, go crawl home. I will say
that Conan's Vel'Koz support was pretty good, but if your selling point is Vel'Koz support, then that's like a problem.
Yo, hit me up, I play a sick Vel'Koz.
He also had an amazing Leona roam.
Yeah, for like that week, that roaming was really, really good, yeah. It wasn't really like a week, it was actually a decent chunk of time, but
I feel like we can find these points with Hart, exactly, as well, so...
no, you're right, Hart's better, but I love Conan.
So if they're able to sell Hart, and which they will be, I feel like I don't know why I'm so confident on that, but And I don't know so much about Sketch. I feel like I don't know anything about Sketch, actually. But the moment they are able to sell those like players, they'll have so much like excess funds for just being able to purchase cool. And I don't know if OMG is willing to go that far if they do have that faith in Xi'an. It's just something I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they would have faith in Xi'an, but
Okay, we got OMG. Let's go EDG. We've talked about how they're possibly making three different teams for the three different mid laners. No one's sure where Name or Deft are going to end up, but EDG, I guess, is planning to play both of them. Damasia Cup is coming up. Damasia Cup does not have the same roster restrictions that the qualifiers and the expansions did, so there is a very possible and very real chance that we'll see Deft possibly played at Damasia Cup. That makes sense to me. Obviously, they want to, test them out, stretch their legs. I assume we'll see some Koreans. Yes, no, maybe so?
I did hear that Damasia Cup would be a reveal of some sorts for a few teams, but I haven't really confirmed anything on that.
And EDG says they're thinking of playing Deft, not necessarily because he'll be on the main roster, just because like they want to sort of show him off.
Parade their alpaca.
Yeah. Also, this weekend there's going to be, I think, CESO. It's going to be another third-party tournament. So if you guys want to watch that,
They never stop playing in China. There's no off season.
There isn't. Yeah, just keeps going forever.
That's a off season is an excuse to put out the third-party tournaments. But yeah.
who's going to Damasia Cup, by the way? Because I feel like, of course, the players it's showing that EPC's in there, but I'm not so sure.
Starhorn Road Club is still qualified. EDG. I think Invictus Gaming was knocked out. I just know Starhorn is still going to show up.
Because it's showing me Starhorn, Edward Gaming, World Elite, Snake, OMG, Team
I'm
World
so
Elite
excited
Academy.
to see World Elite.
And of course, the two that I'm so confused about. Well, of course, there's Hangong Clan. I've never heard of that team. And,
Hey, they played really well.
Oh, okay. And then there's Energy Pacemaker Carries, which they had really good showing, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the same lineup that they had in qualifiers.
Energy Pacemaker Carries is going to disband.
Okay, there we go. So
they pretty much decided to disband before qualifiers, and they just played it pretty much because they had a roster lock and they had a spot. Yep.
So has it been explained who's going to be taking over that spot?
Supposedly the PLU team, but we don't know what's happening because I guess their star players are getting bought, which, I mean, my understanding is that team, I don't know, I call it the PLU team, but I don't really think it's the PLU team because I don't think PLU has a team. It's just that's what people call it for some reason. So I have no idea who actually owns that team, but my understanding is that they spent a lot of money on getting that spot that they bought, the LPL qualifier spot, and they spent a lot of money on Rookie and Kakao, so they didn't necessarily have enough money to pay for talented Chinese players to supplement the roster, so maybe now they'll be able to get like some good Chinese players if they sell Rookie and Kakao. We'll see what happens.
Jackson?
I don't know.
How's that hangover?
It's going, but I don't know.
I
mean, Damasia Cup being like a big reveal is actually pretty hypey for me. I mean, if more teams show their rosters and stuff like that, but I would really like for EDG to throw Deft on the main roster, even if it's not, even if he's not actually going to be there for Damasia Cup, just because we've made comparisons of how the players are so like similar. Like Deft and Name, like stylistically, that it'd be nice to just like kind of have like a reference point to go off of if they go back to Name in the future, and then kind of draw comparisons and conclusions off of that.
Stockholm Royal Club's roster.
Everyone has said that it's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Like ad nauseum. So, yeah.
Which is crazy. They're breaking the trend, man. They're actually sticking together. I mean, even though that same roster like started sucking after Worlds, so I mean maybe that's still going down, but at least it's like not Uzi and 4 other people.
Finals. The 1v1 tournament finals was Corn versus Uzi I, so
Frickin' Corn.
Corn
got a lot of hate.
Corn's like, I'm showing bitches up now.
He's probably really sad that he lost that tournament. He would have had like the championship to just shove into people's faces.
And before Corn's
Because
just
I
like
wasn't
the,
a Corn believer.
and
I
before
wasn't a
Corn's
Corn
just
believer.
like the
Trophy
best
and-
player in the world next year.
Uzi just has the trophy on his desk. Like, I'm imagining their gaming house, yeah, and Korn and Uzi are sitting next to each other, and like Uzi just like sets the giant 1v1 trophy in between him and Korn, so Korn has to look at it every time he
It went
glances over.
2-1. It was best of 3, and Corn took a game. So whatever. It shouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. For the longest
hope-
time, I wasn't. I'm just gonna come out and say I wasn't a Corn lover. I kind of like.
Get off the show.
Wow.
3
No
strikes,
one
you're
cares
out.
anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, no one was a Corn believer except for some
And
other
Prague
people.
really likes Korn.
Is
I
it
will
because
say
I
of
don't
the
know why.
name though, or just the player's skill? Because Corn is a pretty good name. Like that's solid.
I would beg to differ, but you know, to each their own. I think there's better pro names, but you know, we'll go with it.
Oh,
They do have
man.
2 food
Between
items on that
Blaine
team.
and Korn. He's like, Korn.
Corn.
Definitely. Okay. Storm World Cup, same roster. We already talked about EDG, OMG. LGD, of course, they're picking up Imp, benching XQ. I don't think anything else is changing there.
God, it only annoys me because I know that's an improvement. It's just not what LGD frickin' needs. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, their team's
Please,
still
buy a
gonna suck.
frickin' Korean jungler.
I mean, what? What?
Hello, Dandy.
I just hope that
Seriously.
team fails. I hope LGD fails in the spring. Like I was about to whisper it.
I hope they fail.
I hope they fail just so they
They're
realize.
so
that they need to
defensive about
bench
these
him.
Chinese players. Okay.
Execute deserves
Invictus
it.
Gaming, they're replacing Illusion and Tatai, possibly with Rookie and Kakao.
And they're
Or
possibly
Save
playing
or
whoever they have
Rookie
top at this point with Save, yeah. They need a top laner. Like, I'll be
Isn't
very
there-
surprised if they don't get a Korean top laner, which means that they probably won't have both Rookie and Kakao.
Yeah, because this is the issue with IG, is that they had Young Soo, who was a Korean player, so by the 3/5 rule,
No,
They're
they
out.
wouldn't have Youngsu anyway. They
I
haven't
know,
been
but who
using
are they
Youngsu.
playing?
They've been playing like Pokemon, who is
Oh right, yeah.
yeah,
That
Korn.
name.
You still on that name?
Pokemon.
His name's Pokemon, and you're still gonna go with Korn?
Pokemon's just so weird to like. I don't even. It's just like.
Pokemon's bad. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to.
It's a bad name,
But
dude.
they made it clear that he's a stand-in, so that means that they're looking for a top laner actively.
Okay.
Which I would say like they're picking up Korean of some kind.
Can we have like a moment of silence for Young Soo, by the way? Just like.
I actually thought he
No.
got better.
IG
He was
fans,
fine, but I'm
can't-
not giving a moment of silence when we barely had
I
him for
can't.
PDD.
I can't IG
Fuck that.
fans. Okay. PDG
Images
has
of his
said that
drag is
Invictus
just-
Gaming really needs him. He'll come back.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
my
God.
please, PDD, rise from the ashes.
But that's like that's like
He's
actually
been playing,
Sent to the
he's
arena
been
on, like, a
playing
rumble.
Kog'Maw jungle for like a half season. So how good is he gonna be? It's like-
I don't know, but that's also the thing. It would be a bittersweet return too, because you're losing 2 other players that made up a huge part of IG's identity, and then PDD comes back, which is like a huge deal, but it's still a little bit
Yeah.
different. I don't know.
By the way, what's happening to what's his name again? Godlike / Ackerman? Because I heard he came to China to.
He's
Oh,
being passed
right.
around.
Oh, passed around. Okay.
He's,
Is it
he's
LSPL or
being
LPL?
passed around. He had a lot of offers
Okay.
for LPL teams. Like I've
That's
heard a lot of
surprising.
rumors about him.
I
I've
was
heard.
used
Why?
this verbiage, like, passed around.
I don't know.
I don't know
I don't know why,
he's
but I've
valued
heard rumors
that
about
high.
him joining IG. I've heard rumors about him joining wanting to join Royal Club. I've heard rumors that OMG bid on him.
I can honestly say that I don't think that he's better than Cola. Like seriously.
I guess
Honestly,
that's- yeah,
dude,
guess
I don't know,
that's fair.
man.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I can.
I
can
don't.
believe
I
that.
don't think
Cola's
like I was
better.
never high on Ackerman. Like I was
Cola's better.
never high on Ackerman, and I've had several Ackerman rants on this show. But whatever. I mean,
I
Like,
defend Ackerman at all points.
I know she likes Ackerman again. Like it's an IG fan thing for some reason. I don't know.
What? How is that an IG
Hey.
fan thing? He's from Star Wars Club.
It's an IG fan thing because both you and Raz are IG fans, and you're both being illogical about this Ackerman.
Wow, the generalizations, holy shit.
Typical Chinese aggression.
Typical IG fans.
I'm reaching out to Olive Branch because even though I liked Ackerman a lot, like the moment I saw his Rumble play on
I
Worlds, it's
don't
like
think he's better than Cola. I will.
Yeah.
say.
I
Okay,
think
there
my
you go.
opinion of him just kind of like fell off during the North American playoffs. I was just like, okay, well, if that can happen, then there's a concern for important titles.
We don't know what's going on in those columns. No Name and more could just be like, we're done with this. We don't want to play. And Ackerman's like trying to aim his Rumble ult or something. And
Yeah.
Like, I hit a mountain.
And then supposedly the newest rumor is that like Vici might be looking at him too. So God only knows.
I feel like Vici's looking for anybody, and they'll just buy everybody. I don't know how much money.
the
Yeah.
mentality is if they just buy everything, there's no competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just
So I don't know what's going on with him.
that team. Yeah.
Do we have anything else? We talked ad nauseum what Vici's roster supposedly is, but like put it together for me. Top lane, who are they looking at? Ackerman. They're probably thinking about buying going and PD.
Carry.
Carry.
It's Carry, right? Carry is his name. The
Okay,
VP
Carry.
color.
Jungle.
Dandy.
Mid.
Zune /
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, cool / Zune.
Okay. 80 carry.
Vasily / Bobo.
And
Please, Vasily.
Which one should get on that team?
This is what
know.
Vici Gaming really needs to dominate. No, then the support is, I think, was his name Moon?
Moon.
Like the guy who played with them. Oh, no, not Moon. It wouldn't be Moon because they have Mata and Heart. Holy
I was
shit.
gonna say it's supposed to be Mata.
I was like, wow, that's a downgrade. Okay.
No, yeah. So
Buys
someone
Mata
was,
benches.
and this was another rumor someone was saying is that like supposedly they're going to do the swap out for the support role, and it's just like no one would ever do that with Mata and Heart, like ever.
Mata, Vasily, Cool, Dandy, and Carry.
That would be the greatest team. Let me be honest. Like the moment that team gets its shit
Bold
together,
claim.
as sad as I was that Amy.
Really, you're that high on Vasily, like holy
Invictus
shit.
Gaming fans.
Are you? I think Vasily's amazing. Actually, I do.
San is better than Vasily.
Agreed.
Okay, or
And,
Agreed.
like,
Totally
during-
agreed.
Why-
So is
wait,
Sneaky.
Here we go. Here we go. Why do you believe that Sneaky and San are better than San is 3, San is Umbrella, are better than Vasily?
No, San is Umbrella. San.
Well,
San is 3. San is
First
Umbrella.
off, San's world
That's what I
performance was
said.
infinitely better.
Yes.
Same with his playoff performance relative to LPL and North America. And Sneaky has been much more flexible relative to Vasily because they can keep him under control. Like, Sneaky's probably the most what's the word for it? Well, let's just say that he doesn't needlessly die. So
Vasily plays like 2 or 3 teams.
Sneaky's very calculated, and he has changed so much for his team, depending on what he needed. Whether it be utility style when they started and entered the LCS,
Ashe.
to like being able to like utilize carries and like hard carry for his team.
Dogma.
And I mean, like, okay, so typically people rate Sneaky as the best AD carry NA, right? So that automatically means that Vasily is like worse than Sneaky, and then I wouldn't necessarily put Sneaky ahead of San either. So
Why?
that's
Give me bullet points there. Like, why do you think that San
Well,
is a
San
better
has-
carry than Sneaky?
San has harder competition bot lane. First off, in LPL, he accomplished getting to the playoffs at Worlds with Dada 7, and which is a significant downgrade to Lemonation. Honestly, I feel, and like. I'm trying to think of other direct comparisons that would work.
San
And
plays
like,
more
but
champions.
yeah, San has a deeper pool, and I will say that like I don't want to make
San
it sound
doesn't
like
have to win lane to have an impact on the game, because he never wins lane.
yeah,
so.
I don't want to make it sound as though there's like a huge disparity between the two, but I do feel that San outweighs any North American AD carry still. I mean,
Okay,
it's weird. It's
San
weird that he gets so much hate.
somehow
He actually gets
beats
even
Vasily
more.
in
He actually gets even more hate from China actually, as like being useless or something. Which is I don't know. I don't understand. Like, okay, I get it. Like compared to some of the superstars, like he hasn't had a strong showing throughout LPL, but like he's pretty consistently been
I
fine.
think the
I
reason
don't
why
know.
People just don't understand. Like, I think the reason why San gets so much hate is people don't seem to understand why ONG can't like ever get a title since spring. 2013, so they pick what they perceive to be the weakest link on the team, and they decide to relentlessly hate that person because they decide that person's skill is the thing that's keeping OMG from getting a title. When I think it's much more clearly some kind of mental block that they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like
For me,
no
it
other
would-
good explanation.
Wait. Now
Okay.
Raz gets to
Okay.
defend his point of view. Why
Alright.
do you think Vasily is better than San?
It's not even so much better, it's just what they bring to their teams. Because I want to come back to what really defines, or like why I think San is better, or I mean worse, but like, or where this debate even comes from. Because San definitely has a different role on his team compared to Vasily on his previous teams. He doesn't have to go hard into attempting to carry the lane in the game, because of course he has going and he has cool, and they're the main carries, and he always has that consistency. Like, he will always be consistent and always have a lot of pressure in team fights, because OMG's team fights in general are very spot on, and it's always, and he just always thrives on that. And if you put Vasily in that area, in that team, and he's supposed to carry Dada 7, Vasily will fail because Vasily takes too much risk. So I can understand that. What I'm saying is, if you put Vasily on, okay, the reason why I hate on San
Are you
is
saying
because,
Vasily's job is harder than what? Because obviously San has a better team to work with. It's almost like the Looper theory. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if I'm trying to like emphasize your point for you. Like,
Okay.
Looper performs well, but he has the perfect team underneath him to help him perform. So San is performing well, but he has cool, going, and Loveling and Cloud to like also do the jobs for him, whereas Vasily has Moore and No Name and Ackerman and Xiao Wei Xiao.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I can understand that, but it's like based
who
on.
watched 2014 LPL first 4 weeks? Spring. Let's go. Show of hands. Come on, guys. Come on.
All right,
Who
all right.
remembers San hard carrying like every single game? Okay,
Okay.
let's go. Come on,
Alright.
children.
I've had 9
I am
concussions.
the LPL hipster. 2013 spring, baby.
I know, San was good then too. Like, he was actually good. He's like good in the
Yeah.
spring.
Okay, but I'm just honestly.
Summer, he
I
just
feel
like, goes to beaches, takes vacations. Like, yeah,
It's-
I'm just
it's
not
like-
gonna perform.
Yeah.
They draw
Yeah, I
in the
don't know.
sand.
But,
Season 4.
but you can draw like but then you can say when does Loveling play support? Spring.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting comparison. Oh, it's weird.
I want to see how he does.
San has been supposedly rumored to be kicking the supports around on his team, so if OMG's primary concern is the fact that they have emotional problems and they're unable to get their shit together as far as teamwork, then San seems to be the core problem of that.
I mean, that.
Well, no, it's also
supposed-
I think
brings a
I think the
different
implication of Kelsey's
The other
statement was that their
speculation is-
best support is in the jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's just clone Loveling. Let's go.
Let's
Come
pick
on.
up